It sounds to me like how you used to be. She said this right as I finished talking. Oh yeah, you might be right. Maybe that's why it affected you. I closed my eyes and breathed from my nose. That was the best way of cooling my head down. It was surely hot breathing breath that came out. I wondered what lies of distance or direction he was gazing. Nothing. She said this flatly without even looking at me. You cannot let yourself be guided by dead people. That's what an exorcist would say. When you were in a similar situation 8 years ago, you prayed to God, so? Where was what counted most for you? Rita was sitting in a pew in the front row. She did not even turn towards me. I looked at her from the side as I spoke. It was in my hands. Rita sighed, turned and patted me on the head. That's right. For a moment we can touch the hem of God's robe. However, it's also very probable that it might just be a temptation from a devil. How? You're not alone anymore. I say this because people support you. Of course, that's also because you support us as well. Our project costs a lot. It's not something like us, a bunch of dreamers with nothing but big words, can handle alone. We need your help. Yes, I understand. Don't let this confuse you. I'm sorry for what happened to this Dr. Wallace guy. Sure, he's a very talented and hard-working person, but you're in danger of being dragged down with him. I'm prepared to stop it. Yeah, even Seisha gave me headhunting. Made a half-hearted joke which prompted Risa to force out a vague laugh. And her shoulders drooped. It's a lovely face of Risa. I mean, she was already a cutie pie 8 years ago, but now look at her. She's matured to a beautiful woman. Not that she wasn't a beautiful woman already. So how? Yeah? I have a suggestion. A suggestion? As I was wondering what she wanted all of a sudden, Risa said this as she thought that sending me to pick up some groceries. What about taking a vacation? A vacation? Yeah. You've been working non-stop, haven't you? Yeah, this is a crucial time. Risa laughed at my words as if she was embarrassed. For those who live their lives to the fullest, every moment is crucial. But what will I do if I take a vacation? Do you want me to go to space or what? I think you could go to Earth. I took a deep breath. I understood immediately where this conversation was heading. It's Marco. Hey, don't shout, please. He did it. He should have minded his own business. As I was groaning, getting up without realising it, Risa softly stared at me with a disappointed look. How? Sit. When I was with Risa, I was not the elite investor, or a hero of the lunar surface. I was a young Hal, who had not grown up the slightest in 8 years. I couldn't stop myself from sitting down and lowering my head. However, Risa was not in any way threatening me. Her disposition as she spoke was a quiet one, as if she wanted to wrap me in her embrace. Her garden's probably not on the lunar surface. I looked for her myself. You probably searched everywhere too, right? A minute. You want to go to Earth to look for her? I said no, it would be a lie. I really looked for literally everywhere on the lunar surface. I figured Earth was the only place left, but a series of practical problems prevented me from following up on that. I spent a whole year dealing with exclusivity with Avalon. Ellen disliked attention and did not want to be on the lunar surface without to handle any public matters. And while I was doing all of this, a housing aid project started, and I got really busy with my own fund, and my time passed. However, when I asked if I wanted to go down to Earth right now and look for her, I could only shake my head. No. You don't want to go to look for her? No, it's... Unable to speak, feeling hopelessness. I looked back at Risa. I'm afraid. Afraid, you mean? No, not in the sense of what happened 4 years ago. In that instance, I understood what Eleanor must have felt about that spaceship 4 years ago, when she couldn't tell me about her cosmophobia. If I go to Earth, I'm sure to be at my wit's end. I had never left the lunar surface. It was 100, no 1,000 times smaller than Earth. The entirety of its history spanned only 20 years. What do you mean? Agoraphobia? Rita gazed at me with interest and laughed scornfully. So go. Be at your wits' end. Important to see the big picture, you know? It's... Risa stopped talking for a moment and said, it's also true for your future actions. 8 years ago, I missed something extremely important because my viewers are now as pointed a needle. If we could take back what I lost 4 years ago, it's because I did not lose sight of what was important. And now I was trying to move forward once again. What I needed was not a sharp razor concentration, or to flail my arms around trying desperately to grab something, relying on my leads. No, what I needed was probably the ability to look at the big picture, without losing sight of what was important. Situations can change drastically, even in the investment world, and generational changes took place between those who took the lead and those who were left behind. The fuss made by the herd whenever something like ABS appeared was proof of that. In terms of investments, Dr. Wallace was perhaps the last true flame of our time. But I had to move forward. And for that, I had to provide new light in order to illuminate this darkness. You don't have to be impatient. The road from here is out is quite long. I had absolutely no way to oppose Risa. Faced with a gentle smile, all I could do was just nod slowly. Even though she had a video phone, she refused to use it because the picture quality was so low. Eleanor said that on the phone in a lively tone. Well then, I'll meet up with you at the shuttle station on the equator. No, it's fine. How long does it take you for you to get there? Oh, I might recognise this image. Don't worry, I'm not in the episode, it's just where the image comes in the series. Mere hours, not compared to the 4 years of solitude I've endured. I smiled wryly, wondering what sort of face she was making as she said that. I had a feeling a real reason she didn't do video calls was so I couldn't see how mean she looked when she said things like that. All joking aside, you're more than welcome to stay at our house if you come to Earth. We have plenty of rooms free. But it's a castle in the middle of a forest. Isn't it a little inconvenient for you to go out? We had a heliport added recently. Looks like there's no escape, huh? The gravity's stronger in Earth after all. Eleanor chuckled, and I heard a ruffle of a fabric on the other end of her phone. Huh, were you sleeping? I made sure to look at what time it was on Earth. Had I made a mistake? As I sat in a panic, Eleanor giggled again. I just decided to lie down so I could talk for as long as I wanted. Are you drunk? Is that obvious? And I said that, accompanied by the sound of someone pouring water or something into a crystal glass, I had a pleasant clink. Drink would call me over today of all days. It's fate. Is it your birthday? If it were, would that mean all those cards you sent me over yours were a bit off a mark, no? Okay. Is it Legoff's birthday? Do you really think he lets us celebrate his birthday? He's always such a piece of work in these situations. The way she said that was so funny I couldn't help but laugh. And I laughed too, and eventually our laugh trailed off. To be honest, I wasn't sure whether or not I ought to tell you or not. What is it? When I asked her that, I imagined Ella must have closed her eyes. I hadn't seen her in 4 years, but her mannerisms were still fresh in my mind. So the end of a line, Eleanor probably closed her eyes and sat up straighter. After that she spoke quietly, but clearly. Today, I've met a person of whom I'll eventually be betrothed. I couldn't help but gasp at the news. My surprise hadn't escaped Eleanor's hearing, of course. She let out a small laugh. Is that so surprising? No. I hesitated a little and said, I was just thinking of how let down Marco's going to be. Oh? She's somewhat surprised, but also a little bit happy. Naturally, nothing is decided yet. If anything, it's the people around me who gets most excited. She talked about it like it was someone else's business. Whether out of shyness or drunkenness, I couldn't tell. But if you don't like him, you're not going to put up with him, right? I beg your pardon. I happen to have a reputation for being a well-mannered young lady. Ha ha ha. I forced a laugh. We ended a line. Eleanor was probably annoyed with me by her side. With her by my side, I'd taken out an Avalon and regained all I'd lost. Back then, we'd laid our feelings bare in front of each other, so we knew full well that neither of us knew when to quit. After a silent pause, Eleanor said quietly, I'm just slightly anxious about this. Anxious? There was a lot at stake after all. People of noble birth sure had a lot to deal with. However, I realised this might be something else entirely. Getting engaged or even married probably constituted a bigger life change than going back to Earth on a lunar surface. Or at least that's what I imagined. To me, the whole idea of standing at the junction of two entirely different worlds like that seemed terrifying. I pictured Eleanor as she was 4 years ago and said, if you start feeling bad, you can just raise hell and hug your knees to your chest in a bathtub like last time. Then you can work out a solution. Eleanor was silent at the other end of the phone. She might have been mad, or maybe surprised. But then I realised she was laughing. You're right. After all, doing this is what helped us get back at everything we'd lost. I know you must be anxious, but you got to keep pressing forward. I felt a little hypocritical giving Eleanor that sort of advice, but she just breathed in quietly and said, yes, you are right, and I have to move forward. She said it in a small voice, sniffing a little. Thank you. You're welcome. I could just picture her look in Eleanor's eyes before she shrugged her shoulders and let out an amazed laugh. So, what are you planning on doing to Earth? I'm assuming it's not a sightseeing trip. Reese's told me to go beat my wits' end on Earth. I see. Does that mean you're finally taking a break? I'm not sure whether or not I'll be having time to rest. Anyway, things are going to be difficult before I go. I can't even imagine what being 6 times gravity I'm used to will feel like. Oh yes, I'd forgotten about that. But you're so young, I'm sure you'll adapt quickly. It's been very difficult for Lagoff. He just keeps saying that he does not need to go back to a gravity training facility because it would be fine. We should keep going. For a while after we came back here, he just kept fainting like from anemia. A good grief. I laughed at the thought of the whole thing. But you have been working constantly for the last 4 years, have you not? I do believe the rest will do you good. Well, maybe. For most people I introduce you to are extremely satisfied by your investments. There are a fair number who are critical of you, though. You're very good at speaking to them earnestly. In face of faith, they become quite weak. That's just because I'm not good at hiding things from people. Good manners dictate when someone should give you a compliment. You should just expect it. Yeah, but Earth words are 6 times heavier. Ellen and I both laughed, and after a moment I said, but my pace seems to be slowing recently. Eleanor, taken by surprise, didn't reply immediately. She took my words in and answered slowly. You ought to follow Risa's advice. Impatience is forbidden, and even harmful. I'm not sure why, but I feel like I'm surrounded by strong women. That's because you're strong yourself, Hal. I couldn't stop myself from laughing bitterly at Eleanor's candid words. I wish you were right. So, you're coming to Earth to relax. Exactly. That was my answer, but it seemed like Eleanor was thinking about something on the other side end of the line. And she was waiting for me to notice. She might have been a little angry at me. In that case, I suppose I won't be needing a helicopter. It seems I had guessed right. Relaxation comes second. Eleanor's tone clearly implies she knew that I wouldn't be alone. In that case, it would be rude to avoid the topic. I'm going to look for someone. The one from 8 years ago? I took a small breath before answering Eleanor's straightforward question. Yes. The person I was in love with. I may have heard an oh dear from a receiver. After that, I heard a door sound. Apparently, Eleanor's had punched or thrown a pillow or something like that. Finally, I heard a bubbly, sparkling voice, almost like a teenage girl's. Actually, there's a lot of things I wanted to ask you about that. She was the type of woman who'd get her teeth into something and never let go. She'd been that way even out against Avalon. I'll fill you in once I get to Earth. You must tell me. Promise you will. Alright? I don't think it's that interesting a story, honestly, but I'll be the judge of that. When she said it flat out like that, all I could do was just shrug. I shall be awaiting your arrival then. I'll contact you once I'm close to my destination. Have a nice day. Eleanor signed off with that and hung up. I felt like I recognised to be the same kind of weariness after talking to the chief executive of a prominent company on the lunar surface. It wasn't a bad feeling. I went into the living room to report to Teresa. I've called her. Attaboy, good job. Risa cornered me with the assumption I wouldn't call Eleanor. She ended up having to do so from a church. Per usual, she wouldn't mind her own business, so I'd probably have hated her meddling in my past. But right now, it made me feel happy and safe. So, what'd she say? She asked me to tell her more about her Ghana. At those words, Risa smiled somewhat gleefully. The reason why I hadn't asked Eleanor about her fiancé wasn't out of concern for her privacy. If I was to admit out loud, it was because I was frustrated by the news. People would definitely point and laugh at me. But are you sure it's okay for me to not be around at such an important time? People born and raised on the lunar surface took a long time to get used to the gravity of Earth. Regardless of age, it took 1 month to acclimatise at the very least, which meant I'd need to be away from the lunar surface for 2 to 3 months. I wanted to take the time to really explain to Risa what this entailed, but all she'd done was retrieve her phone, and slowly would begun waving at me a bit. Mark was really eager to get you to act as your substitute, you know. It's acting like everything's already been decided, a little sneak. It's called laying the groundwork like an adult. He gave up on the argument entirely, and Risa rose from the couch and stretched languidly before going on. But you know, they say title promotes person's growth. Marco's brilliant. You should let him experience new things. It's not like I'm doubting his skills or anything, but he's always in his shadow, isn't he? Well, I guess. If you're not willing to entrust your work to other people, you'll never be able to go anywhere. I stared back at her with a look calculated to say, well, aren't you just full of wisdom? However, Risa just merely shrugged her shoulders in reply. That's because it demonstrates how much faith you have in other people. You had trouble dreaming about my past, right? When I saw a look of purposeful triumph on her face, I sneered like a kid and shot back. I'll have you know that given the right directions, I can work from anywhere. I wonder if I should confiscate all your means of communication. Not knowing how serious Risa was about that, I just raised my hands and feet. And a few days that followed, I was busy coordinating various things, handling procedures for a trip to Earth, so I couldn't go to a Schweitzer investment office. And I'm subject to handling certain things. I'm going to end the episode here. As ever, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.